Charlene, welcome back to the podcast. Good to have you. Excited to have you back for a second time.
No, excited to be here again.
Yeah, and you just came off launch of a new book. Is this like the seventh? Well, how many books have you written now?
Yeah, it is number 7. Yes, I
Wow.
just keep pumping them out.
Yeah. Well, if there's good stuff to be written, you might as well get it out there to the world to share. So, how's everything going with the launch? Do you feel confident with it? People excited about it? Learning? What's been the impact?
Yeah, the reception has been amazing. People are like, "We really need this book." It feels like it's a book for the moment. There's just this pressure cooker now to do something with AI, and the book was really designed to say this is how you get started to create value. So it's been really well received. I think we just kind of got lucky with the timing of it.
Yeah. Well, let's do this as a background so folks listening in kind of know just a little bit about who you are and what we're going to talk about today. Can you share just a quick, if you can summarize in 30 to 45 seconds, kind of your background and why this is important for you?
Sure. I've been a longtime analyst and author. I wrote my book in 2008, my first one in 2008, on how companies can use social media. So my whole opus of work has been around how leaders can use these technologies and be disruptive. And the focus is not so much on the technology, but more about the leadership and strategy needed to make disruptive transformations happen. And so that has been my focus. And my previous book before this was called The Disruption Mindset. What is it that organizations do to continually disrupt themselves? There's something in the water, in the air that they breathe, that allows them to do this. And I wanted to dissect what that was. And that was a natural continuum over to winning with AI. Is there's this huge transformational force, or what do we do with it? How do we
Yeah.
actually create value with it?
Yeah. Well, let's do this as well. Is let's define some of these terms because AI is thrown out there all over the place. Can you define like AI, agentic AI, like a couple of these terms that we may talk about today or people may hear out in the world?
Yeah, in the book, we actually define that right off the bat because it is very confusing. And AI has been with us for a very long time. Think about your Spotify playlist recommendations, your Netflix movie recommendations. Those are predictive AI. So they look at the past and predict what's going to happen in the future. And then we have generative AI, which is very different. It's creating new content and video and ideas, even code. And it's guessing in some degree based on the patterns of what has worked in the past, what will be patterns coming up in the future. So it's a little bit like predictive, but it's generative and creating something new. Then you have agentic AI, which is built on top of that, which says if you can give an AI a goal to optimize something or to maximize something, it could be a workflow, it could be the content that you create, it could be your time, for example. It'll try to accomplish that goal until it's met. So it'll take action and decisions. It'll work as your agent to make these things happen. And then there's artificial general intelligence. This is the time when AI is so good, it can act as the answering machine. It can do all the things that a human can do and have that level of not just knowledge, but intelligence to make decisions.
When we think about, so this might be a fun way to go. I'm just going to randomly throw a tangent already. What if we look to the future and then we'll come back to the present and where we're going? What would like, so think of a founder, think of a leader or an organization. What could potentially their work week look like in the future if they leverage agentic AI, they leverage some of the technology out there? Can you give kind of just your futuristic, vision?
Sure. Again, if you think about what a founder is doing, and I started and sold a company too, so I know what those shoes are like. I've stood in them. You're so busy just addressing all the things that are coming at you. And you're trying to just figure out what's real and what's not, what's important, what do I have to focus on? Your employees are talking about barriers they have to get into work. You have a customer who's complaining that they're not getting their things that they need. And just trying to make sense of it is super hard. And so I think one of the most important things that AI can help you do is just to collect and organize this information in a way that you can even understand what's happening. So if you can expand your scope of understanding, then you can increase the speed of your decision making because now you have all the information at your fingertips. And in fact, the AI may have already pre-made some of the decisions for you based on the things that you have decided in the past. Here's a recommended path and needs your input. And you may think about AI as your thought partner, helping you turn through things, looking at scenarios. So your decision making also becomes better, faster, cheaper, and overall safer. So it's a different way of working than you had in the past. It's almost like having a co-pilot or co-CEO here that is giving you a lot more information, but not just information, just filtering it in a way so that you can make sense of what's going on.
And it's not just, I think the general thing is like thinking about like, oh, we can send this email or whatever. But what you're saying is really, it could gather a lot of details, information, calls we had, whatever it is, and it can synthesize it, aggregate it, give me information so that I can make a better decision for future events that haven't happened yet.
Yeah, and I'll give you a simple example. One of the hardest things is I'm packed back to back in meetings, and I have this little piece of AI that will go through my history, my calendar, all the emails, the conversations I've had with this person who's coming up. It'll also do some background research on that person, and I get a little cute little dossier just 10 minutes before the call, texted to me so I know where I can easily find it. It just gives me a quick lay of the land. I just quickly scan that and be completely prepared for that meeting. Whereas in the past, I would have to end my previous meeting a few minutes early, go through and do that research, even if I was just manually doing that with AI. But now it's all sitting there in exactly the format that I like. It's customized to me. And again, just that sort of on the spot thinking. And I hope that one time I will have an AI listening to the conversation and in real time giving me suggestions on, like, can remember to think about this? What about that? So that I literally have somebody sitting over my shoulder and helping me navigate everything that's coming at me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting because you think about like where work is going. Because I think that's well, I don't one. Does it scare the hell out of you with AI? Like what's going on with it, or what's your stance on it? Anyways, I should ask that.
Well, I'll give you an example. Early on, back in early 2023, I realized that a lot of my work, a lot of me was in AI. And so I gave it the questions that had been asked of me from a podcast interview that I had just done. So I had my responses and I could see what the AI's responses were. And I gave them just completely blinded to some people to evaluate them. And the AI was 80% as good as me. 80%. And this was ChatGPT 3.5 early on. It wasn't that good. And it was actually pretty good. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh my goodness, I'm chopped liver. If anybody can go into AI and get my thinking and my analyses, then what's my value? And then I started looking at the 20%. Like, when was my response better? In some cases, frankly, the AI was better, it was more succinct, it gave better answers. But the 20% when I was better was when I was inserting something special about me. It wasn't in the AI. It was a sense of empathy. It was a little insight that had come from a conversation I'd had the previous week. And it was a half formed idea. I was doing things like, oh, let me just throw it out there. And it
Yeah.
hadn't existed before. So I realized that that was the 20% I had to focus on. And instead of having this, and I did, I had a little bit of an identity crisis for a second.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on the things that AI could do to replace me, what were the irreplaceable things that I do? And that has been my focus. Because as soon as I produce something, it's going to be in AI.
Yeah.
So it's this sort of publish or perish idea that you have to continually renew yourself. But it has also been incredibly uh, inducing because the things I can do now, before I had to have an entire team and company of people to do. I have research people, marketing people. I had sales people. I can do so many more things. I still work with a lot of people, but
Yeah.
we're all supercharged now because we have AI. The amount of work we can get done and content and clients that we can work with is just exponentially bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the same wavelength with you. I'm an optimist. I'm an eternal optimist, and certainly I think there's a lot of negatives with AI that are going to come. But I look at it to your point is like it becomes that personal assistant where a lot of the admin work we don't like to do anyways. and it's bogging down our day, it can be removed and kind of hand fed to us, and then we can do something with it. So it actually puts the expertise like you have, or I have, or others have at the forefront where we can actually leverage that. Everything else is just taken care of, right? We can spend more time doing those things that we actually love doing versus a
Yeah.
lot of the
Hey,
crap work that we don't like doing.
yeah, and AI is really good for these data intensive, tedious work that's highly
Mhm.
repetitive. In the book, we talk about at the very end about this future where we're going to become superhumans, meaning we're integrating these intelligences. We have AI doing all the things that's really good at, which allows us to do the things that we're really good at as humans. And there are 5 traits and characteristics: our empathy, our ability to have self reflection, intuition, judgment, wisdom. Those are the things to lean into and the things to develop in ourselves and also our organizations. Because when you have an organization filled with superhumans, people who can integrate these 2 types of intelligences, who can use AI at the most highest level and a very fluent level, and they choose, and this is very important, they choose to use that extra time and capacity to expand these 5 traits of humanity that are unique to them, that opens up so much opportunity. Now, imagine an entire organization of people like that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's going to change the scope of how business has been done, but I mean, we've always changed throughout time. It just maybe hasn't looked like this, but we've changed. I mean, I think anyone can agree. Look at Industrial Revolution, because I don't know what I was listening the other day, where I was talking about like even just a couple hundred years ago, going basically Industrial Revolution, like everyone thought the world was over, right? We're going away from farming. Yes, we changed, but we adapted, and I think we'll
Right.
do that with this as well.
What's interesting is the people who are most optimistic about AI are boomers and Gen Xers. That's not the younger generation. In fact, the younger generation is looking at this technology with tremendous skepticism
Mhm.
because they have seen and they were the recipients of social media and all the benefits, but all the deleterious effects of it too, as well. And these are the same characters. These are the same people who are now taking, who are active in social media and all of that, and now using it for AI. And they just want nothing to do with it because they see nothing but bad news. And here's the thing: as boomers and Gen Xers, we've been through this transformation already once in our lifetimes. We had the internet show up at our doorstep and we had to completely change the way we work. What is this email thing? What, like, how do we do this? And so we're sitting here going, yeah, we've been through this. We know how this works. You learn, you adapt, you adjust. If things will change and we'll be fine. And that's where that level of confidence comes from, knowing that no matter what happens, we'll be okay. If you're a young person, you've never been through this before. You've
Yeah.
never had this sort of seismic change. You were born into a digital world. And this is changing every assumption, every sense of what you do, how your sense of identity comes from, how you create value. Your world is rocked. And so I think I agree with you. I'm a complete optimist about this, but I
Yeah.
also have a bit of realism. I call it being a realist optimist.
Yeah.
And the reality is this is going to be really hard. And this is why I'm so passionate about the message in the book, which is we need leaders at this moment. We need leaders to come in and fill this void to address the fear and anxiety that many people are feeling right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one thing just to underscore on that is I see this a lot having a teenage son. Like when we were growing up, it was always like get the safe job was like doing engineering, right? Learning to develop, like those type of jobs. And now it's like, I don't think they're going to be fully replaced. You still need the quality control and those type of things, but I mean, we can talk a little about like, Claude code and stuff like that. Like there's things I'm building an app right now. I, I'm not a developer, right? But there's a lot of things that are going to change in that front. So like the way of work is going to change. And I think that's what scares the hell out of a lot of the younger generation is like they were told this truth or this is what I do. And now they're getting to college, let's say, and they're like, wait a minute, that skill I just spent a lot of years on is not going to be beneficial for me. How do you
Right.
think about that? Is there anything else you'd add to that?
Yeah, I think we're in a very funky space right now. Things are changing so quickly that our systems, our organizations, our education institutions haven't had a chance to catch up. Again, IBM has said we're doubling down on entry level jobs. We are going to continue and, in fact, expanding our hiring of entry level jobs, but they won't be the same entry level jobs. So, for coding and engineering jobs, we're redefining what those jobs are. We're changing the job descriptions and realizing that people coming in do not have those skills. So, we have to give them that training. And so, to your point, you just spent all these years getting a bachelor's or a master's in engineering, and you're realizing what I learned can't be applied. It's not valued anymore. I had to learn a whole new set of skills that sit on top of that. And the schools are still trying to figure out how to even think about and incorporate AI into their curriculum. So it's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to take a while for this to all balance out. And I do believe that organizations are going to have to do a lot of that reskilling. They're going to take on the onus of that. And not everyone's going to be able to be reskilled. And then if they can't be reskilled into a role that that organization has, then what happens to us as we as as societies, communities, governments need to take up that burden too as well. So there's a whole bunch of downstream changes that are going to be happening. We need
Yeah.
to be going into those eyes wide open. I do believe that there will be more jobs created by AI. All the research says that we're going to have more jobs created than just jobs lost. But the painful part of this is that people who lose those jobs will not be the ones who take on the new jobs.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I
Right?
see.
It's not an even swap. Uh, I was talking to a bank, and they had 90 people originally who would review the checks that by the machines.
Hmm.
The AI has gotten so much better. They now only need 5 people. So those 85 people, they said, "Look, you're valuable. We know you like you, and we're going to give you retraining, reskilling to be able to do new jobs." And some of them said, "Okay, I'll give it a try." And some of them just go, "I like my job. I don't want to learn a new job."
Yeah.
Just decided to leave.
Yeah.
Those are the people I worry about. What are the opportunities? What responsibilities do we have? How can we support them? Because there are going to be a significant number of people who fall into that last group.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's a problem that we don't even know the answer to at this point. I mean, just like with AI, like if we talked a year ago, that podcast would probably be outdated at this point, right? I mean, with all the changes and things that have happened, which is a good transition, maybe of like, what are you seeing from the organizations that are doing it the best right now, and whether you can take it from two angles, whether it's on how they're championing their people to like utilize tools and those type of things, or actually they're providing tools and putting in practices that can help their staff obviously do better work.
Right. Let me start with that. Because I think that companies who are, let me start with something else actually. I think that companies who are seeing tremendous value out of AI, and it's roughly about 13%. Some of the latest research said only 13% of companies who are using AI are seeing that sort of transformational value. Everyone else is going, how do we get some of that? What is it that they're doing? And the difference is those companies and organizations have a really clear view of what their strategy is, of what their strategic objectives are, and then how to use AI to achieve those objectives. Again, better, faster, cheaper, safer. The others are saying, so what can we do with AI? Oh, we can write copy faster for social media. Let's go use it for that. So they're picking these really simple, obvious, safe ways to use it. They're maybe doing a few pilots here and there, and nothing's really getting traction because they're not taking it to that enterprise strategic level, because that's really hard. And they're treating it like a technology rather than a strategic transformation. So the companies who are seeing value are taking it very seriously. They're leading from the top. The CEO is actively involved. And I'll give you one example of a company. They said, this is what our strategic plan looks like. We have 7 strategic goals. 6 of them are the usual types. And the 7th is using AI to achieve the first 6. So there's a purpose, there's a focus. It isn't just about installing ChatGPT or
Yeah.
Microsoft Copilot and giving, that's not AI. That's not doing AI. That is giving people a tool and technology. That is not a strategic objective.
Yeah.
So my co-author and I said, you don't need an AI strategy. You have a business strategy. Figure out how to achieve your business strategy with AI. So don't ask, what can AI do? Ask how AI can help you do the things you want to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's almost like, hey, sales are down. What do we do to improve them? Okay, well, maybe we hire better reps. We have to get a different leader in here. We have to go after a different market. Like, you're building the strategy and then you're executing on that. And I like your thought on it. It's like the transformation versus the technology. It's like, we need to be thinking of like, yeah, what is our goal? Like, where's the finish line, or where's the mile marker out there that we're going toward? How do we get there? There's 20 different ways we can get there, but we need to know where we're even going before we can build anything out. Yeah, I like
Right.
that. I like that thought about it.
Yeah. I was talking to CEO and he was saying that one of his biggest problems and pain points right now is that his sales was forecasting what they were going to produce, and they were a manufacturing firm. And then when it came to production, it was 40% higher, the orders that were coming in. And it's a good problem to have, but it is still a significant problem because you have promised something to salespeople. They have under forecasted what they're actually going to do. And they do this consistently, 40% off. And he goes, how can AI help me with that? I'm like, oh, lots of different ways. You can look at historically and say, what were the things that people were under forecasting out? What are the drivers of that? How do you anticipate along the way the signals that will come in to give you more accurate forecasting? I mean, there's lots of things that you can do with AI to give you visibility into something that was completely opaque.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
have to identify that problem first. You don't want to have AI be the hammer looking for the nail. You know your nails. As a founder, as a leader, you know what your problems are. So pick your biggest, gnarliest, wicked problems and say, how can AI help me with that? And that leads me to the second problem, because that could be, again, you know your business really well. The second problem is you probably don't know AI that well. You're probably not that fluent with it. And I believe leaders and their organizations need to become fluent with AI as quickly as possible. And this is to your point about the tools. How do you do this? Well, first of all, get powerful tools in people's hands and allow them to use it. Give them the training, and that's top-down training, but also peer-based training on what and understanding what can AI do and also what it can't do, how to use it responsibly and ethically, and then how to apply it in your specific job. What are the tasks that you can have AI do now for you? Again, in the context of your overall strategy too, as well. Again, if you don't have that context of what is our strategy and how are you going to be successful in helping us make that strategy a success to become real, if everybody doesn't understand what that strategy is and how we're going to achieve it and what their personal contribution is, nothing works. That is
Yeah.
the role of a leader, fundamentally.
Well, I think I mean, that's the problem. You just kind of hit the nail on the head. The problem is, I guess, twofold with that. One is organizations are trying to clamp down on just using any tools. Like, you can't just use any tools on your own. They want to say like, oh, you only can use this and that. Well, then there's limitations with those tools if they're not built out. But then secondly, I think I'm going to say most of the stuff. I don't know if this is accurate. I'm just going to say it. It's something I've been thinking about is like, I liken AI today to Bitcoin. There's a small amount of people, like there's a good amount of people that know what it is. Like, they know what it is. There's a very small amount of people that actually own it and obviously utilize it. Uh, I think AI is the same way. Everyone has heard AI. There's a good amount of people that sort of know what it is in general. Again, to your point earlier, like, that's why it's important to find it. But I think there's actually a very small percentage of people that are actually actively using it on a day-to-day basis, not just going into like Claude or ChatGPT and like saying one chat, like actually doing it. It's funny because I'll even talk with like some friends and I'll like be, oh, let me look this up on Perplexity or whatever. Like, well, like, I'm just going to go to like, so they like, they'll put it in like some search or something. I'm like, wait, why are you doing it that way? There's like a better way to do it. But I just don't think people know about this stuff, you
Right.
know?
And yeah, and I think again, this is that fluency. And I define fluency as this flow, this comfort level. It's just something that you just reach for. It's like when you're using chopsticks for the first time, you're like, how do I do this? And at some point, because of practice, You don't think about it anymore. You just eat with it. Or it's like a chef, but you have incredible knife skills. You're not focusing on the knife. You're thinking about what the outcome is. And these are just tools that you just use fluently. And we need to get people to that point, and it only comes with practice. That level of flow, of confidence, of trust comes with practice. And we, first of all, don't give people the tools. We don't give them the training. And very importantly, we don't give them the time to learn how to do this. Give them the
Yeah.
time and the grace to
Yeah.
try things, to have things not work out, because we put such an emphasis on getting the work done right now. I hear this from people like, oh, we would want to use AI, but we just simply don't have time.
Yeah.
I go, what do you mean you don't have time? Well, you have to go to training, you have to learn it, and we just don't have time to do that right now. We've got to get this focus done on the immediate things that are on our to-do list, what our daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly goals are. And when that is so short-sighted. And this is why I believe AI is not a technology problem, it is a leadership problem. If the leader understands these are our big strategic goals, this is how we're going to use AI, and we need an AI fluent workforce to be able to change that, to make that happen. What would it take to get your people fluent? And I recently asked a group of executives, about a dozen of them at dinner, and I asked, how many of you feel like you're fluent with AI? One person out of 12 raised their hand. And I said to the other 11, so how long is it going to take you to become fluent? And they're like, oh, I don't know, a year? And I'm like, how about 3 months? You become fluent in 3 months. Now, what would it take? What would you have to do every day to build that level of fluency? And we're getting into specifics here now. So, again, identify the things that you have to do in your daily life and figure out how to use AI to help you do those things better. It is a practice, it is a curiosity, it's a sense of imagination. And there's a level of training that can be there, scaffolding that you can put around them. But in the end, they have to be driven into this space by their own volition. That
Yeah.
they can, again, if we can just create that first aha moment, they are off and going to the races with it.
What, and maybe it was at that dinner or somewhere else. When you ask that question or those types of questions, like the people that aren't doing it, is it purely just because I think it's like people like you and I, like we're going to put our arms around it and like, well, let's just dig in and try. And I feel like the other group is just, they're scared. So it's like, if I'm scared, I'm just going to not, I'd rather like not know about it. Like, don't tell me that there's, cockroaches under the fridge. I'd rather just not know about it and I don't have to do anything about it. Like, is that the reaction for them or is it something else?
Let me tell you who this group was. They were all like the technology leaders and the IT leads here, running in some degree or another about working with their AI groups. They were talking about open claw. And these were not people who were not actively doing it. They were actively using it, but they didn't feel fluent with it. And by the end of it, one of them said, I'm probably more fluent with it than I thought I am. I just don't feel that way. And I go, this is the level of confidence that you have, the sort of like, do you reach for it instinctively? So I asked him very specifically, what is it going to take? And he said, I think it's a practice of reaching for AI first rather than as an afterthought. Like,
Mm,
how do I think about AI as my primary way to get work done rather than just something I pull out every once in a while when I have
yeah.
something very specific to do? And so that is the threshold that people have to get towards and be looking for fluency, not just literacy, but fluency, this ability to make it second nature. Google is second nature to us.
Yeah.
Email is second nature to us. And how do you get to that point where it just becomes second nature?
What are some of the, so maybe, and you can, this might pull from your blueprint or not, but so, okay, let's take like level 0 is they've never like gone to Claude and typed in the chat, whatever. Like even if it's like look up some historic event information, like they've done nothing, right? Level 1 is someone's actually went to there, they've done something, some sort of general chat, right? From there to get to fluency, is it just using the tool like that? Or to your point, is it building out something where it starts, gathering the email details or building some some task, where they're completing tasks for you. Like, what would you say if you had to put your definition around, like, what gets them to fluent or close
Yeah,
to it?
I have one very specific recommendation. Because before you can have it do any of these like fancy co-work, agentic kind of workflows, you have to shift your mindset around what this tool can do. And the best way to illustrate that is when you have a prompt, you're just putting in there, like, okay, tell me, I recently had to change my smoke detector. And I could not for the life of me figure out how to get it off the wall. And I could have just, it's like, how do I take a picture? I take how to do it. But at the end of my prompt, I added this one sentence. Before you start, ask me any clarifying questions you may have. And so if you add that to the end of the prompt, it changes your relationship with the AI from it being an answer provisioning machine to a partner, to a conversation.
Yeah.
And changing it to a conversation means I can go back and forth with you. I may not be complete in the answers, the questions that I'm asking, but you will help me complete those questions to give me the best answer. And you're treating it like a colleague in some ways, because you would never give a colleague or somebody who's working for you a task and then just say, go off and do it. You would say, do you have any questions before they started it? And it changes that relationship.
Yeah.
And so when people start having conversations with the AI rather than just a single prompt, it completely changes the way they look at it and use it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you start getting, to your point, you start getting clarity around it versus, remember, what was it back in the day? Ask Jeeves. You remember Ask Jeeves back in the day? Was that I mean, I don't even know how that worked. I guess it was probably similar where you'd ask it and then pull up an answer. I don't know what it was using, but that's what I think about. Like, if you just use it as hey, tell me this, and it tells me an answer. But if it makes you think a little bit, then you can add specifics. Then it's thinking more. And all of a sudden, to your point, we're now getting granular with the conversation, which ultimately helps you expand your thinking.
Right. And the thing is that it makes you more curious because now you're truly asking questions and you don't have to worry about making the prompt perfect. I mean, there are definitely ways to write prompts, and we go into that in the book, how to write a good prompt, right? So there's some basics like that. But beyond that, you're never going to write the perfect prompt. And you realize that if you're not getting the results out of AI that you're expecting, that's probably the way that you're asking the questions. And so therefore, you ask AI to ask you the questions to give it the direction so it can give you a better response. I like to say you get great answers only if you ask great questions.
Yeah, that's
You can
true.
have a creative answer comes out if you ask a creative question.
Yeah.
So, again, this is that practice of things, but to have it be a little bit more directive than just saying use AI. Well, for what? How do I do that? And this is where I believe that ask me clarifying questions. The AI is teaching you how to ask it questions.
Yeah. Is there, so if we're trying to be really tactical, someone's listening in, they're looking, okay, I want to start this. I want to, over the next 90 days, I want to do some of these things. Is there any tools that you recommend are best? Is there any specific ways they start or can utilize it on a day to day, maybe to get past that level 1 to level 2? Anything you'd share that'd be helpful.
Yes. I, again, as any leader, you probably have a short list of things that are really important to you that you have to accomplish. Same as for your organization, figure out how you can use AI to help you get those things done. And if you don't know how to do it, here's the trick. This is the meta trick. Ask AI, give AI, this is my problem. How can I use AI to help me address this problem? That's the
And
level
then,
two.
yeah, do you, and again, this may change if someone listens to this a year from now, but like, are there specific tools that you like to use? And you don't have to share if there's, if you don't want. I'm just kind of curious, like, in your mind, what you use on a daily basis, or your organizations that you work with,
Yeah,
or anything
so
like that.
I use Claude most of the time, mostly because it has these wonderful tools like Claude Cowork
Hmm.
that I can give access to my email, to my calendar, to my files and folders. So it just I have a level of trust with it that I allow it to do that. So it just does a level of work deeper than just what chat can do, chat and Claude. There's also Claude Code, which again is for very advanced people who want to create products and applications. But honestly, I use them all. I use Perplexity, I use ChatGPT, I sometimes throw in DeepSeek. Every once in a while, I'll open up Grok and then figure out how it works. I'll use Google, Gemini. I'll use Microsoft Copilot. They're all really good. There's no best tool. And this is how I know that, because sometimes I'll open all of them up in a bunch of tabs. I'll take the same prompt with that clarifying questions at the end, and I copy and paste into all of them, and I run it, and I see who asked me the best set of questions. Because for that day, for that task at that moment, that AI engine is the best one to answer that question. And it's amazing to me how it changes, because AI has good days and has bad days. You just never know which is going to be the best, right?
Yeah.
So if you really want to do the best, that's kind of tough, because you never know. But for the most part, stick to one that you like. Choose one where the interface is one that you like. And I think that's the reason I like Claude so much. The interface just works really well. I like the way it gives me answers. I like being able to choose between different engines so I can save my tokens and my data. But I'll say Microsoft Copilot, for many organizations, that's the only tool you have. It is more than enough for you to get to the point where you can be very effective with it. And what I really like about Copilot, if that's what you have as an organization, it is probably deeply integrated into your systems, into your data, into your other Microsoft systems that you already have. So it's going to be a lot easier to build agentic workflows right from within Copilot. The problem with Claude is it sits on top of your systems and it's not deeply integrated into your legacy systems until somebody does that type of integration. So again, the pros and cons for all of these tools, we're talking about sort of like 301 kind of level activities that I'm talking about now. But to just get started, use whatever you have access to, and whichever interface and experience you feel comfortable with that makes you feel like you can do anything with these tools.
Yeah. Well, to your point, like to get, I think about this like from a language standpoint. To get fluent, what's the best way to get fluent? Is you immerse yourself in that society, right? Or in around those things, or listen to those things all the time. It's not just like, taking a class in school one day a week or something like that. Like you have to be immersed in it. Well, if you're using AI every day, a week later, a month later, 3 months later, there's no way you can't be fluent with it, at least in some capacity, right?
Exactly. So this is why I think 3 months to get fluent is completely doable. But it's not from taking a course or reading books or listening to podcasts and reading newsletters. Those all help. But I like to say again, pick the problems that you want to have. Use AI to figure out how to use AI, and it may direct you. Go and take a course, listen to a YouTube video that specifically talks about how to use AI to solve the problem that you have. Because I can guarantee you, your problem is not unique. Somebody else has had to deal with it, and somebody else has probably written about it. Or go into your organization and find other people who are doing something similar to that, and whatever problems that they may be having. Which is why I do believe there's top-down learning you can do, but one of the best things you can do is the peer-based learning, where people are sharing back and forth with you. One thing I advise leaders to do is when you sit down and have a meeting with somebody, either it's a group of people, your team, or one-on-one, you ask people, how did you prepare for this meeting using AI? How did you use AI to prepare for this meeting? And for the vast majority of people, like, I didn't. But somebody might like, oh, this is what I did. And then hopefully you can share, well, this is how I use AI to prepare for this meeting. And it is just a really interesting way to get people to actively think and to also set expectations as a leader that you expect people to be using AI.
Yeah. Yeah, these are all great points. And the funny thing is, like, we could probably sit here for 5 hours and like just get nitpicky, and then in 6 months, a lot of this changes anyways. So to everything you've been saying is like, you have to get in there and just play with it. And so it's almost like, so you're kind of, moving with the changing field anyways, and you're kind of learning it versus not being behind.
Okay, can I just add one thing for that? I just want to add one quick thing about that. I get asked from leaders, how do I get up to speed? How do I stay on top of things? How do you do this? And I kind of laugh. I'm like, I am so not on top of things. I am constantly behind, and you just kind of accept that.
Yeah.
Right. And I had to take some time off earlier this year to take care of some family things. And so I was out for about 3 weeks. And I came back and Claude Cowork had launched, OpenClaw had come on board. And I went, what is going on? What is this? This is completely new and different. So I felt completely lost. So I just buckled myself in and said, okay, co-work, download it, see what's, oh, this is amazing. So it just completely changed the way I work. Uh, Opening yourself up to this continuous learning, but also realize you don't need to stay on top of the latest, greatest in order to get work done, in order to use AI effectively. The tools that you have available or ready to you are more than powerful enough. Your biggest challenge isn't about learning about the newest, greatest tools. It's about applying the things that you already have and using them.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't, I think if I can summarize that, it's like, don't get overwhelmed with there's so many tools. Just pick one, get started, start, like you're saying, even just use the prompts, make better prompts, and then adapt over time. And you may, like, I just changed, I was using OpenAI for a while and I changed the Claude exclusively recently. I may do change something else later on if something different or better comes. You know what I'm saying? So I think if you get married to something, it's like, well, great, but things change. To your point, it's just learn the scope of these tools and kind of what the availability is, and then the tools are going to change over time, but the proficiency is going to be there forever. Yeah.
And you're seeing this in organizations who are now signing contracts with these AI tools. Uh, Typically, vendors like to have multi year contracts. I'm seeing 12-month and sometimes even 6-month contracts with this recognition that I'll probably have to swap things out. And this interchangeability, this modular approach to building your tech stack is extremely important. So, if thinking about even preparing your data, if you talk about cleaning up the data, I think it's more about understanding what the data is and putting some context on it. So almost like a summary of your meeting notes, so that when you have an AI coming in and you're building these agentic workflows, instead of having the AI go in and understand the raw data and spend a lot of time and tokens on that, it can just look at that context layer. And that context layer also connects what's in this database to the other databases inside your organization. So that way, you're not having to teach the AI from scratch every single time. It can just get to work on the most relevant pieces. It's just putting that's the way to think about preparing your data instead of thinking I have to have clean data before I can use AI. It's about getting your AI, your data ready so AI can understand and do something with it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a good point to end on as well. I think we just need folks to take action on this stuff. So you got the book "Winning with AI." Where are you spending the most time on? Are you on LinkedIn? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. That's my home, basically. I have newsletters in there. I put tons of video. I have my live streams and podcasts are on there. So if you want to stay on top of everything that I'm doing, it's all on my website too. But LinkedIn is probably the easiest place to see it. You also get all the comments and everything. But just follow me on LinkedIn. Connect with me there. Love hearing from people. My website is charleneli.com, and I have speaker reels and other materials. I co-lead a community for AI leaders. So, because it's a very lonely space out there. And the AI leaders like, oh my goodness, who can I talk to? And so I help co-lead a group of people who can talk with each other on a regular basis and just know that they're not crazy, if nothing else, but also just get a lot of really good ideas of how to use AI. And the book is as Winning with AI, and you can see it at winningwithaibook.com.
Awesome. Charlene, this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you coming back on. And, again, I always look at the time. I'm like, oh, it evaporates here. Well, we had such a good, just random musings jumping around and this stuff. So I certainly appreciate you sharing a lot of the insight with me and obviously people listening in. So thank you so much.